In this session, we're going to correct triangulation using AddLine and SwapEdge. If you look at the top of the screen, you can see the drawing that I have open. This is a refinement datum surface that I've created. Let me also mention, if we go to the Prospector tab here, if we right-click on Data Shortcuts and choose Set Working Folder, that's what I did. I set the working folder here, Civil 3D Projects 2, as my working directory. I then went into the project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I went into the Design folder and then into the Surfaces folder to locate this drawing. Let's zoom in. The first part of the triangulation I'd like to correct is right here in the intersection. If we zoom in a little closer, it would be best if I was triangulating from the center line and this edge down to the edge of pavement over here. This would create nice radial triangulation. What we have here is the potential triangulation to create a flat spot. Okay? To swap my triangulation, or to correct my triangulation, let me select the surface. I'll open the Edit Surface menu and I'll choose Add Line. This allows me to define my own triangulation lines. I would like to triangulate from this endpoint all the way up to the endpoint here. And you can see not only did it add my new triangulation line, but it also corrected the triangulation adjacent to that line to make sure that everything works. And now I have nice radial triangulation going around that bend. Let's do the same thing over here. I'd like to triangulate from this endpoint to the endpoint up here. I'll press Escape when I'm finished. Okay, let's make a couple more granular changes. I'm going to split my screen. In the In-Canvas menu, I'll open up this menu on the left, and I'll change the viewport configuration to 2 vertical. I will then click to put the focus on this view on the right. I will hold my Shift key on the wheel on the mouse to orbit the view around. And then I will open the rightmost In-Canvas menu, and I'll change my visual style to shaded. Perfect. I will then click in the view on the left, and we'll hold the Shift key and the wheel to orbit this around. This is a nice way to go. By viewing our triangulation both as wireframe and shaded, it makes it a little easier when we make changes to see if we're making things better or if we're making things worse. Let me zoom in. What I have here is an area where my region, I've got a region coming up here with an assembly, and then the assembly gets swapped out right here to something that's a little bit lower, and you can see that it's kind of creating a vertical wall here. It's actually perfect right here. The area where the triangulation is messed up is on the 2 ends. So I'm going to correct that using this view on the left. Now, if you've ever gone back and forth between these 2 views and you can't tell where you are, one quick way to do it is just draw a circle. I'm going to draw a quick circle here. Perfect. I can see that point is that point right there. Let me delete the circle and we'll tweak the triangulation. I'm going to zoom in. Looks like this point here and this point here represents the low part of the area where my assembly has changed. So what I'm going to do is select the surface. I'll open the Edit Surface menu and I'll choose Add Line, and I'd like to add my own triangulation line from the endpoint here to the endpoint here. And I can see in the right side view that is perfect, and that's exactly what I wanted. Let me pan this over, and I'm going to take care of the same thing on the left side here. Let me go back to the menu, Add Line. Let's go from this low side to this low side. Perfect. That's what I wanted. Let me hit Escape a couple times to get out of the command there. I'll hold my wheel and the mouse down, and we'll orbit this around. I'm going to do the same thing in the other view because I've got a couple more areas I'd like to correct. Let me zoom in right here. Now this is my datum surface, so this is where the surface is coming under the curb and gutter, and then it's coming up the backside to the curb and gutter terrace here. This should be a nice 90-degree square corner. Instead, the triangulation is kind of taking off in this direction. I want to make some changes. So let me get that same area in view over here on the left side. And it looks like this is the point right here. I'd like to triangulate from this point, the low part there on the back side, right there. I'd like to triangulate to the low part here on the front edge of the curb, right there. So let's try Add Line. Let me choose the surface here. Add Line, and I'll go from this corner to this one. And you can see the panorama popped up. while it did make a change, let me close this. While it did make a change, that's not what I wanted. Let me undo. I'm just going to click the backwards arrow here to put that back. So to make this correction, I'm going to use the Swap Edge tool. Let me pan this over and we'll just give you an idea what Swap Edge does. I'm going to select my surface. I'll open Edit Surface here and I'll choose Swap Edge. Since the surface is triangulated, you can take most any pair of triangles will create a four-sided object. If you click Swap Edge, it will take the hypotenuse essentially and it'll swap it. So it's going to go from corners 1 and 3. You can swap edge and it'll flip to 2 and 4. Now in an open area like this, it doesn't make much difference. This is relatively flat, but if you're working in an area where you've got a vertical face, this can be extremely helpful. Let me press escape. We'll back up and we'll come back over here. Okay, I would like to take, let's look at this four-sided object first. I would like to take this line that represents the hypotenuse and I'd like to flip it from this corner and this corner to this one and this one. Let's edit surface. I'll choose Swap Edge and I'll click that line. You can see that's very close to what I want. Now I've got another four-sided object here with the hypotenuse. Let me flip this. If I flip this, it'll move this corner to the back side. It'll take this corner and drop it down here. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. The nice thing about one of the nice things about Swap Edge is you can take and you can use it multiple times. You can flip, take a look. Is it better or worse? It got worse. Let me take and click it again. Now I'm still in the command. Let's look at this one. Here's my four-sided object. I would like this edge to be going this way. So by doing Swap Edge and clicking right there, perfect. That's what I want. Once again, here's a demonstration. As you're using this, you can click, oh, that's not what I wanted. Let me click again and put it back. Fantastic. Now that I'm finished, I am going to put the screen back. I'll use the in-canvas menu here on the view on the right. Let me open this on the left to the leftmost menu, and I'll choose Maximize Viewport to maximize that viewport on screen. We can then orbit this around and review the modifications that were made to the surface.